Hello friends, welcome to C Intermediate to Advanced tutorial. Now you are watching part 2 of the subseries C WebBrowser Control. In this video we will talk about the example and form design. So in the previous video we just learned the basics of the web browser control. Also we talked about the warning. So we told when we are going through the development process of this web browser control, do not use this web browser control to fill any form field information. Don't share your sensitive information when you are browsing the sites. Or I would say browse only MSN and Dell.com and do that with a read-only purpose. So these two are trusted sites. So this is our example, and in the example if you see we have a toolbar and then we have a status bar. We have web browser control. In the toolbar if you see we have a text box. So using this text box you will type your web address here, then you will click on the go button. So this will navigate to the website. Here if you see we typed www.dell.com, and once you click go, the URL will be navigated and information retrieved from this Dell.com web server will get displayed, or the HTML that get rendered here in the web browser control. Just like in the browser, when such a navigation is happening, you can cancel that abruptly by clicking the stop, and there is a reload button as well. So this will refresh the page which you are browsing. Then in the bottom if you see this is progress bar. So when user types the web address here and clicks go, the process will be this web browser control will navigate to this address and it fetches the information, and the fetched information HTML content. The HTML content can be text, image, media, whatever it is. So those streamed information will get rendered here in the browser. So it may take some time for the data transfer to occur, so that will get displayed here in the progress bar. And at the same time in the status label we will get information like web browser is navigating to the URL. Once a navigation is completed you will see navigated. So those kind of information we will display in the status bar here. The user content 1 and user content 2, these two are buttons, and using these buttons we will learn how to read the static HTML content and display that here. So there are two ways to render HTML content here. One is going to the web address and downloading the web content and displaying it here. The other one is here when you click user content 1 we will form the HTML on the fly, then we will display that here in both the 5 and 6 click. And when we are doing, we will display a HTML button here, and then we will learn how to hook this HTML button click with the C# code handler. So this is a HTML button. When HTML button is clicked, usually there will be an underlying JavaScript, and JavaScript will get hooked to the button click. Here in this example, instead of JavaScript, we will hook this HTML button with a C# event handler function. For that we will use two techniques. One is the document object model technique, and other one is creating a class and giving it to the web browser control. And web browser control, since web browser control is acting as a bridge, it can access HTML it can access the C# code as well. So it knows when to communicate or when to call the event procedure when something happens on the HTML. Alright, so the web browser control C# supplied web browser control have some issues with the scripting languages. So while we are progressing through the videos, we will see how to avoid some of the scripting errors. That means here I am not saying we can avoid 100% of the JavaScript errors, but we can avoid some 80 to 85% of it, depending on how much scripting stuff a target website is using. Here in this example, if you use Dell.com, you won't get any JavaScript error at all. But if you use Yahoo.com or codeproject.com, you will get more JavaScript errors. Why? Because by default the web browser control will default to IE6 or 7, a older version of browser. So we will see how to emulate the web browser control, the latest version of IE that is installed on your system. But still, it will help you to minimize the JavaScript error, but it won't avoid. So for that, if you need full-fledged browser, then you can go for some of the third-party component. One example is Osomium, and you can use that web browser control. So, but this will help you to understand how you can work with a web browser control, and you can look for the similar functionality in a third-party supplied web browser also. Alright, so using web browser, we will learn the internet browsing facility and how to give that to the Windows form. Now let's go to demo and talk about the form design. Here is our form design. If you see, we created a Windows form and we named it as a web browser control example. And we have two components, one is toolbar and status bar. We already covered toolbar and status bar in our previous videos. So in our channel, you can search for toolstrip to go through the toolstrip demo, and status strip to learn the status strip related subseries. Alright, let's go to the properties one by one. So this is our web browser component, and if you see, first we placed tool strip, and tool strip we dragged and dropped towards the top, and status strip we dropped it towards the bottom. So in the center portion we placed the web browser control, so it's available in the common controls. Towards the end you can see web browser. Once you drag and drop, it will automatically occupy entire space. So when you are designing the form, first place the tool strip in the top, then status strip in the bottom. Once you are done with that, then place the web browser so that it will occupy the remaining portion. Now let's look at some of the properties. So in the web browser, if you see, the name is browser, the doc property is fill. So by default it will the IDE will make the web browser to fill the container. The container here is the form. That's why we are asking to keep the tool strip and the status strip first. So remaining stuff you can leave as it is, and name, if you see, it's browser. Then we placed, so this is our So here I'm clicking the empty area. This is our toolbar, and nothing special here. Text is tool strip 1. You can leave it as it is, and this is important, name toolbar. And then in the toolbar I'm going to edit items. So the dock is top, we are docking it towards the top of the form. Then I'm clicking the edit item. So if you see here, we are adding a text box, and this is to navigate the URL. So this first one, then we named this as a txt tb URL. Then the second one is btn go, third one is btn stop, btn reload, btn user 1, then btn user 2. So you can look at whatever property which is displayed in bold, and when you are designing you can check that. So name, we kept it as a txt tb URL, toolbar URL. So these and all by default will Visual Studio will take care of this stuff. Then the second one is btn go, that's the only change here. The third one is btn stop, that's the button name. btn reload, and if you see, we are not using icon anywhere, so we are using the text property reload. The text property here is a stop. Instead of grouping it, let me go with alphabetical A to Z. btn stop, btn reload, btn user 1, and btn user 2. This is btn user 1 and this is btn user 2. And for these two, if you see, we kept alignment as right, so that this will get displayed towards the right side. And if you want to add, see, first you have to add the text box. So that's the type here, AB colon, and you can see AB colon. That's how you have to add. Then all other stuffs are button AB. So when the toolbar is displayed, there will not be any control like this. You have to add manually. Then you have to set all this property. So that's why we are asking to check the toolbar video, so that you will understand this. Then status bar, and we named this as a status information. Then so here if you see, dock is bottom, so the status bar will get docked towards the bottom. And edit items, the status bar contains two things. So items collection, you can either access that through this quick link icon or quick task icon, or through the collection property. So the first one is a status bar. When you drop the status bar to the form, initially it will not have any control in it, or there may be some default labels, so you can remove those, select and remove, then add a status bar. Here if you see, I mean the progress bar. The progress bar, we named it as status underscore pb, and you can look at the remaining properties. So those are all not important. Status pb. The second one is status underscore information, so that's the label here, and it occupies the full width. Here if you see spring property, we are setting it as true. Only for label we have a spring property. So once you set the spring property to true, what happens, it will occupy all the free area in the status bar. So our progress bar is occupying only this much, right? If you want to increase, you can increase as well, but here our status bar is occupying only 100 pixel. So here you can see the size is 100 pixel, and if you want to increase, you can increase. So you can see it got increased here, and all the remaining portion will get maintained or will get used by the label. So that's why we are setting the label with spring property to true. Here spring, if you see, specify whether the item fills up the remaining space in the status strip control. So we named it as a status bar. .NET named it as a status strip. Similarly, here we named it as a toolbar. .NET names it as a tool strip. Windows.forms.tool strip. That's all here in the form design. Now you will save this, rebuild it once, and we will launch and see how it will look. So initially it will look like this, and you can resize and see how the other controls are moving. Here you can type the web address, you can click go, page will get navigated, and the navigated page will get displayed here. During the navigation you get a status of the load here in the progress bar, and you will get some status message here, navigated, all the stuff. Stop and reload, similar browser functionality to stop the page load in between, reload to refresh the content of the page. User 1 and user 2, we will learn how to hook the HTML and C# codes. That's all here in this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.